Unit 8, Lesson 1, Applying the Pythagorean Theorem. So just before we start the lesson, I just want to go over some terminology. So in order to use the Pythagorean Theorem, what you are using it to do usually is to find the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse is the longest side of a right angle triangle. So if you see this symbol, then you know it's a right angle triangle. So the hypotenuse is the side that is opposite of the right angle. And this side is always the longest length. So when you're calculating the length of the hypotenuse, it should be a bigger number than the other two sides. So the theorem states that c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared. So this is the formula right here, where c squared is the hypotenuse and a and b are the other two sides. So let's use the theorem to find the length of the hypotenuse. So we're given a triangle with side lengths 24 and 7, and we are looking for the hypotenuse. So I'm going to let 24 be A, and B is going to be 7 meters. And then what I'm going to do is simply plug it into my equation. So C is my unknown, so I'm going to put a little question mark there. So the formula is already given, so I'm just going to start filling it out. So C squared is my unknown. A is 24 meters, and that's going to be squared, plus B, which is 7 meters, which is going to be squared. And then I'm going to use BEDMAS, so I have to do my exponents first. So 24 meters squared is 24 times 24, which is 576 meters squared, plus 7 meters squared, which is 49 meters squared. Now, because I have meter squared and meter squared, I can add up these two numbers. They're like terms, so that gives me 625 meters squared. So I need to get rid of the exponent. So what I have to do is square root both sides. So if I square root c squared, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So when you square root c squared, you're left with c, which is what you want. When you square root 625 meters squared, you're left with 25 meters. And so c is equal to 25 meters. Now, and one thing I mentioned before is that c is your longest length. So you just want to make sure that you've done your calculation properly. If you're calculating the hypotenuse, it should be longer than the other two sides. And when I double check, that 25 is greater than 24 and 25 is greater than 7. You can also use the Pythagorean theorem to calculate another side of the right angle triangle, as long as you have the other two side lengths. So we've got a triangle where we've got a side length of 15. The hypotenuse is 17. So I know that's the hypotenuse because it's the side that's across the right angle. And I'm looking for this unknown side. So I'm just going to start labeling. So I'm going to let 15 be A, and 17 is going to be C. And then I'm going to start plugging in my numbers into my equation. So C is 17 centimeters squared equals 15 centimeters squared plus b squared. So I want to isolate b. So what that means is I want to move the 15 over. So this becomes 17 centimeters squared, take away 15 centimeters squared equals b squared. So now I have to start simplifying. So 17 centimeters squared is 289 centimeters squared. 15 centimeters squared is 225 centimeters squared, b squared. Now, as I've mentioned many times in these videos, I do like my variable on this side. So I'm going to write b squared. And 289 take away 225 is 64 centimeters squared. So I'm just flipping the sides just so that I've got my variable here. Once I have it written like this, I have to get rid of the exponent. So in order to do that, I have to square root both sides. So square root of b squared is b. Square root of 64 centimeters squared is 8 centimeters. Okay, so therefore b is equal to 8 centimeters.